For air, where do you think conscience comes from?
I entirely agree with the last speaker.
I have no quarrel with that at all. Anybody in the general audience? Yes, in the front row.
I'd like to throw out a definition that might be helpful to some people of the difference between religion and Christianity, because there's a distinct difference. Religion is largely man, by his own efforts, some of which have been demonstrated tonight, in terms of mental gymnastics, trying to get to God and looking at the most powerful thing, like the sun, and bowing to that. Christianity is God coming for man. And I was interested in Herman Bondi's remark that he's an anti-revelationist. If there's a God at all, there's no way we can know anything about him by guesswork, only that he should reveal himself to us, which he did in the person of Jesus Christ and became human.
But where does conscience come from?
Conscience is given to us by God, and we are in the process of numbing it and pushing it down to suit our own purposes and interests, which is called selfishness.
Other people in the audience, where does where does the conscience, where's the idea of conscience come from? Yes.
I would say the conscience comes from the human soul. It's the human soul speaking out and crying out for release.
Okay, it's not just fear. Do you not think that it's an animal fear, a fear of being found out? Yes, Daniel Rubinstein.
I tend to think it's a sort of fear of alienation, really, being cut off from the rest of the community. And I think perhaps that, for instance, that Live Aid event demonstrated a huge sense of community.
Everybody wanting to join
yes,
in. Herman Bondi, would you share that?
Well, I certainly feel that we are basically herd animals, and that all herd animals must have feelings like conscience.
You not feel. What do you feel?
Well, I don't think conscience is to be equated with either wish fulfillment or going with the herd, because my conscience often forces me to stand out from the herd. I think it is the God-given means by which I have to act responsibly. And I think that is how it's evolved is something for the I don't understand it in animals. I look to the scientist, I look to the psychiatrist to see how it functions with the ego and the superego. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what it actually is. I think it's the God-given faculty by which we can behave responsibly, and it's not to be equated with things like utility or welfare or wish fulfillment or anything like that.
I must protest against this assumption certain faculties are God-given as opposed to others. I disagreed, for example, with the physician when he talked about love. Indeed, I mean, love is a human emotion, but there's no particular reason to single that out as pointing to the existence of a supernatural being any more than the other human emotion. I mean, all human emotions are to be accounted for in the same sort of terms, in the kind of terms Professor Asink or one of his colleagues would account for them. And just to single out love is quite arbitrary. I mean, the assumption is that we are naturally egotistic, predatory, and so on, and that only because of some supernatural agency do we behave decently to one another. This is absolutely contrary to the facts. We have, in fact, as even David Hume pointed out, principle of sympathy, innate principle of sympathy, as well as an innate principle of egoism. And one no more needs a divine explanation than the other.
William Houghton.
Look, let's get this straight. There is no reason on earth why we shouldn't go around acting like perfect pigs to all and sundry. There is no big Monty Python foot poised to come and squash us if we act badly. Yet, a lot of us do act well towards our fellow man.
But why should we not? That was just the point that I was making. Because I was just protesting against your assumption that it's somehow natural for us to want to be decent to one another and unnatural to be decent to one another. What possible ground have you for that assumption?
In this world today, my experience is that it strikes me that more people are being unreasonable to each other than are being reasonable.
Well, in that case, you should be Manichaean and believe in the devil.
Come on,
if you're taking your deity as accounting for human attitudes, that's the way you should go. Well, totally illogical.
Well, Professor Eyre, all other species are selfish, basically, aren't they?
No.
No.
By no means.
By no means. Go ahead.
Herman Bondi.
But I wasn't saying that our being herd animals means that everybody has to move with the herd. What I do mean to say that we are not solitary beings. We've got to have the faculty, as other animals live together, to get on in some fashion with each other.
Tina Mehta.
You just mentioned the devil with great aplomb, but the devil's best trick is to make man believe he does not exist, and I think that's what the problem is, that, you know, we are in a state of chaos suddenly instead of harmony. And it is the state of harmony that we are trying to create in this world, and not distort the minds of children by showing them violence and explaining that that violence is necessary to bring about harmony.
Krishnamurti.
Hinduism clearly says, what is God? Answer to our dear friend's question. God is truth, God is love, and God is good. Whatever name you call, it is God. Why allergy to the name God? Love, beauty is God.
So you don't actually feel that he's supernatural, so that God is supernatural. Hugh Montefiore, what do you feel about that?
Well, I do think that God discloses himself in the smallest particle of matter, and in our human relationships, and in love is to me a window into God. But I do think that he has supernaturally disclosed himself to us. That's why I'm a Christian, because I believe that he has been incarnate, as you said. That's what Christians believed. I believe God was incarnate and suffered the worst that people could do to him. Now, this is to me the only way I can see my way through the problem of evil.
Can I just remind people, and perhaps Hugh Montefiore in particular, of Einstein's concept of God, which was, yes, God who made the universe in wonderful ways, but had not the slightest interest in us human beings, and was a totally impersonal thing that couldn't possibly care for our prayers.
I want to talk to a psychologist next, Leslie Francis.
I would like to go back to the question you keep asking. Did God create man, or did man create God? And I see that as a deceptively simple kind of language used. They're two completely different order questions. It is for the theologian in me to come to the question, did God create man? But the psychologist in me would want to answer your question in a different way. Did man create the image of God? He cannot go beyond looking at image. And I suspect what we've heard in the discussion tonight is a whole lot about the variability in the image that is used, but we haven't been able to get on to the ontology beyond that image.
I'm sorry, everybody, but we've run out of time. The choice that is open to us is whether God made man or man made God. It's now over to you. All that remains for me to do is to thank the audience for their contributions and, of course, the panel. I'm sorry we didn't have time to say any more, and from me, good night.
Mr. Chairman, if you would allow me, I would like my brothers and sisters to loosen their limbs. If they stand up and take a deep breath before sitting down again. All of you, please. Please. Take a deep breath or two and loosen your limbs, and you can relax. The previous two lectures, Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, the previous two speakers, have been dealing with this theme of the East and the West getting together, meeting. The East meets the West. It's a kind of a symposium we have been having. And in that symposium, the subject of law seems to be very technical and very dry. And to build bridges between the East and the West, so now, most probably in the minds of the organizers, they have taken me as a man from the East. And they are right in that I have really come from the East. I am a man who was born in India some 60 years ago. So I am really a man of the East. But now, since the theme that has been selected for me is religious, about Islam, now I take exception to Islam being described as a religion of the East. If we take Islam to be an Eastern religion, then Judaism and Christianity are equally Eastern. Because Islam, Judaism and Christianity, all these